It's what we're doing in society now. I mean, we're we're making people persona non grata because of something they do, or and that is right now deemed wrong, or it's the hot point and a hot topic right now.
Matthew McConaughey walked up on stage, looked right into the crowd, and did something almost unthinkable in Hollywood these days. He thanked God. You could feel the tension in the air, like everyone was waiting to see who'd dare clap. In an industry that preaches inclusivity but dodges anything remotely religious, especially Christianity, McConaughey's words hit like a shockwave. Some cheered, some froze, and suddenly it was clear. He had just thrown down the gauntlet. But what does it say about Hollywood that one simple thank you could cause such a meltdown?
You can't erase someone's entire existence. Where the heck does some forgiveness go? And again, that, like optimism, it's not erasing the crisis. It's not saying there wasn't a problem first. It's not saying that there's parts of the Bible that people have bastardized and used in the wrong way.
You've probably seen him on screen a million times, but lately, McConaughey has been getting attention for more than just his acting chops. He's stepping into the spotlight with some pretty bold takes that are ruffling feathers, especially among the Hollywood elite. And yeah, he's unapologetically going against the woke grain that seems to be everywhere in the entertainment industry these days.
And say, well, it's all bad then. It's all used, because it's false.
He's not just pushing back, he's openly criticizing the cancel culture that's taken over. You know that thing where one wrong step can mean your career's over? McConaughey's had enough of it. He's spoken out about how this culture of cancellation silences people, making it almost impossible for anyone to say what they think. He's called it out as a threat to free speech, something he believes is critical for any healthy society. He's even described the whole thing as society turning people into persona non grata, erasing them. In his eyes, it's like there's no forgiveness anymore, no chance for people to learn and grow from their mistakes.
That is so condescending and patronizing to 50% of the world that need the empathy that the liberal side gives and should give.
And he hasn't stopped there. McConaughey has kept going, sticking up for free speech and the right to have a viewpoint that might not align with the Hollywood majority. He's watched people walk on eggshells, scared of how even the tiniest comment might cost them jobs or votes in the future. To him, that's not what a free society is about.
It's just so arrogant, and in some ways hypocritical to me.
Matthew McConaughey made headlines for doing something you'd think would be pretty normal. He thanked God. It happened during an award speech, and you could almost feel Hollywood holding its breath. McConaughey stood up there, as cool as ever, and gave credit where he felt it was due. First off, I want to thank God, because that's who I look up to, he said, and you could just sense the tension in the room. In most places, a quick thank you to God wouldn't be a big deal, right? But in Hollywood, it's almost unheard of, especially in the way he did it.
How are you going to get famous? I think over 30% of the answers was, I'm going to make a sex tape. Now, come on now. I think we can all agree on both sides. Hey, now, wait a minute. We got our values skewed about what people will do to get there. Again, it's short money. It's today with social media.
This moment was significant because Hollywood doesn't do open displays of religious faith, particularly not Christianity. The industry has a way of keeping that stuff under wraps, almost like it's something to be ashamed of. It's as if mentioning God or faith could get you blacklisted. McConaughey didn't care. He just went for it, fully aware that it might not sit well with everyone around him. And he was right. People reacted. You could see some of his peers start to clap, almost out of habit, but then they'd pause, look around, and second-guess it. It's like they were trying to gauge the room, afraid that showing any approval might come back to haunt them. What's interesting is how this incident peeled back the curtain on Hollywood's supposed inclusivity. Here was McConaughey, a guy who's been around forever, just expressing something personal, and yet it felt like he'd crossed some invisible line. While a few friends and supporters clapped, others hesitated, worried about what this might mean for them if they joined in. It's kind of ironic, right? Hollywood talks a lot about diversity and acceptance, but when it comes to religious beliefs, particularly Christianity, there's this awkward silence.
Well, in a world that's saying I'm only spiritual because I want unity, that's exactly what religion means. We've bastardized the meaning of it over time, and we've excluded people and we've corporatized it and such. But yes, I am religious.
Matthew McConaughey's outspoken stance on faith and free speech has stirred the pot in Hollywood. Not surprisingly, reactions have been all over the place. Some people are backing him up, while others aren't too thrilled. Take Woody Harrelson, for example. He's a longtime friend of McConaughey, and he was quick to jump in and defend him. Woody said, "It's about time someone had the guts to speak up." He's one of the few who isn't afraid to show support, and that's saying something in an industry where people are always walking on eggshells. But then you've got the other side. Some folks in Hollywood think McConaughey's views are outdated, like they're from a different era. They're worried that by challenging the mainstream, he could undo all the so-called progress they've been pushing for. In their eyes, he's rocking the boat, and they don't like it. They think that talking about faith or questioning cancel culture is somehow setting things back. It's almost like they're afraid his views might spread and mess up their carefully crafted image of what Hollywood should be.
There is a lot on that illiberal left that absolutely condescend, patronize, and are arrogant towards that other 50%.
The funny thing is that McConaughey's comments highlight how hypocritical Hollywood can be when it comes to inclusion and diversity of thought. They're all about diversity, until someone expresses an opinion that doesn't fit their mold. They talk a big game about accepting everyone, but when someone like McConaughey brings up faith or criticizes cancel culture, suddenly that acceptance goes right out the window. Hollywood loves to pat itself on the back for being open-minded, but only if you're open-minded in the right way. Hollywood loves to wave the flag of inclusivity, but when you look at it, the whole thing feels a bit hollow. Sure, they're all about diversity when it comes to race, gender, and sexual orientation, but try bringing up a conservative or Christian viewpoint, and suddenly it's a different story. McConaughey sees this hypocrisy for what it is, and he's not shy about calling it out. He's pointed out that Hollywood's version of diversity is mostly skin deep. It's like, as long as you fit the right visual profile, you're in. But if your beliefs don't line up with the majority, then they're not as welcoming as they claim to be.
I'm sure you saw it in our industry when Trump was voted in 4 years ago. They were in denial that it was real. It looks like Biden's our guy. Well, now you got the right that's in denial because they're saying it's fake news. And I understand they've been fed fake news. No one knows who the hell to believe, right?
It's kind of ironic, right? They'll preach about being open-minded and accepting, but only if you play by their rules. McConaughey has been clear that this doesn't sit well with him. He's saying that real inclusivity has to go beyond appearances. You can't just be diverse on the outside. You got to accept different viewpoints too. Hollywood's so quick to champion diversity, but only if it's the kind that doesn't challenge their worldview. They want to look progressive, but they're pretty selective about what kinds of progress they want. And that brings up the big question, can Hollywood call itself inclusive if it shuts out conservative and Christian voices? They've built this bubble where only certain perspectives are allowed, and if you step outside of that, you're out of line. If you're someone like McConaughey, who's got a bit of a different take, they're quick to label you as outdated or controversial. It's like they want diversity, but without the discomfort that comes with hearing something they might not agree with.
I have 100% of the audience going, I'm in. At the very end of it, they go, so we don't let those criminal get backing off. And you're going, whoa. You're like, no, don't say the last part. You lost 50% of your audience. And that's, part of why so much of the nation of that 50% looks at us in Hollywood as like going, oh, yeah.
Matthew McConaughey isn't shy about calling out cancel culture for what it is, a threat to free speech, and ultimately, a danger to democracy itself. He's made it clear that he thinks cancel culture goes way beyond just calling out bad behavior. In his eyes, it's about shutting down anyone who doesn't toe the line, turning people into outcasts for having different views. And he's right. When you start erasing people's voices just because they don't fit the popular narrative, you're not just hurting them, you're tearing away at the very foundation of a healthy society. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.